I had the privilege of being joined by Tariq Elkhatib, the founder of EventHawk. Fun fact around Tariq is that he is a gold award winner in our SaaSpreneur model and from 2022. And in 2023, one of our fewest 2023 platinum award winners. So we've put together a few talking points here that are really going to help you position yourself if you've been thinking about getting into SaaS mode, or if you are ready to level up in your SaaSpreneur journey. The episode is titled Turning Setbacks into Success with SaaS Resilience. And we're going to be talking about 3 bullet points here that are important that Tariq will be generous to share his story about, which is the balance of time versus money, aligning your goals with your clients and your employees, and lastly, what fuels it all is the belief, family, and support. Tariq, it's great to have you here. We've been back and forth chatting and organizing this. And for those in our audience who may not know you yet, could you share a little bit about your personal story and journey?
Thanks, John. Appreciate you having me, man. Yeah, my journey is honestly, the whole thing is accidental. Unlike a lot of people, this was never part of the grand plan. I actually went to school, got a degree, worked in healthcare, moved up in one of the top hospitals in Chicago, started teaching at a community college, but just like a lot of you guys, there was always something missing. I wanted to be my own boss. I had that entrepreneur mindset. And so I started a business and it failed. And I started another business and it failed. And so many businesses I started. And fortunately, I have a very supportive wife who's, I'll wake her up at 3 a.m. like, I got another $1 million idea. It just never worked out. Eventually, we found that the one business that did work is when I didn't go in to make money, right? I went in because I was like, we can do better. We rented a bouncy house and it got arrived late and it was dirty. And my wife and I were at the party cleaning up the bounce house in front of all of our guests. And we looked at each other like, no, we could do better. Like, this is not cool. Like, this is embarrassing. So we started a bouncy house business and things took off. And that taught me that, when you do something to deliver value, magic happens. And from there, that's when things really got difficult, right? Because for once, I had a business that was actually making money, but not making enough money to where I could quit my day job. So that's where my time was completely disrupted for the next few years, where I was in that awkward stage where the business is successful enough that I can't shut it down, but not successful enough to where I could take it full time. And it was work to business, business to work to business, business to work. There was no time. And before I knew it, I looked back, my kids had grown up, my marriage was strained, and I didn't really move much. You make a lot of money and then you just you don't see much of it. And that's where high level came in. Eventually I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I want to do this right. I'm tired of spinning the wheel, just always following my gut. This is what I know. This is the opposite of what most people tell you, follow your gut. I learned the hard way that as an entrepreneur, following your gut might be the worst thing that you could do for yourself. But long story short, I stopped following my gut. I started learning, started reading books, hiring mentors, and I came across High Level. And High Level is a great tool, but it's all about what you build into it. And I built something into it that within 4 months tripled my party rental business, and I was able to take it full time. I'll never forget. I was in my scrubs, reversing out of the driveway, heading to work. My wife texted me. She's like, check your phone. And she's like, you need to quit today. Put in your 2 weeks. Mind you, a year ago, she told me to quit my business. And she's like, you just need to Uber instead. So I screenshotted it. I'm like, I'm going to screenshot this. If we fail, you were on board. And then from there, everything took off. My local business was doing great. I started sharing my success with other people in our industry, in the party rental industry, because I started noticing a lot of people had the same difficulties where they couldn't take their business full time. And I said, hey, here's how I did it. Here's how I marketed. Here's what funnels I used. And they're like, hey, can you do it for me? Can I pay you? And I'm like, no, I'm not a marketer. I'm a bounce house guy, right? I own a local business. But every day there was more and more people in my inbox. Eventually I said, you know what? I think I really enjoy this. So let me give it a shot, and took on 5 clients, 5 turned to 20, and served over 1,500 people that we've worked with so far. And it's just been an amazing journey.
So powerful. So for those that don't know the full story, and they got this snippet of just right off the bat, the gut feeling, which normally we expect to follow because it never fails us, failed you. Your wife was the one that got you over the hill and said, now is the time more than ever to get going. And then the knowledge and consistent fuel of putting yourself in the right direction has been by reading and mentorship. Let's get right into the balance of time versus money. With so many courses and books and trainings and influential people out there, how did you go about balancing how much time and how much money you spend on your personal development in order to build upon your business framework, model, thought process?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And that's one where when you're starting out, you tell yourself, I can't afford to hire people. I have to do everything myself. But there comes a point when you realize that I can't afford not to hire somebody because you have such big goals. Now, I'll give you a quick example. If I want to be an NBA player, I can go outside and play basketball every single day in my driveway by myself. I can watch YouTube videos. I could do it all. I could spend 10 years, right, playing basketball in my driveway and never make it to the NBA. But then you get one guy who spent 2 years with an actual coach, a fraction of the time, and he'll far surpass me. I just wasted all that time and never made it to my goals. And that's when it hit me that here I am thinking that I can't afford this, but really the world is vast. And if you find the right mentor, really, really big things happen. It's just completely expedited. In fact, one of my favorite books is Who Not How. And it talks about don't ask the question how. How do I make money? How do I grow my agency? How do I do this? How do I do that? You got to ask who. Who can I get in the room with that can help me do this, right? Because
Mhm.
networking, man, it's everything. And that was a turning point for me. I realized I can't do everything myself. I have to get in the room. I mean, I'm good at marketing, I'm good at sales, but I don't know how to develop software. I don't know. I can't do all the support. I can't do all the networking. And so I started working with other people who taught me how to get over a lot of these humps that I was in. And some of them in the high level community and other communities. And it's just been really, really amazing because you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. That's when I realized that the people at the top, the commodity they work with is not the dollar. It's time, right? They want to win back their time. So they're having other people invest their time so that they can win theirs back. And somebody put it like this to me once. I forgot who said it, but blew me away. They said, what if I told you that for $20, you can gain 20 years of experience? $20, you can gain 20 years of experience. That's exactly what a book is. Most books cost what, 20 bucks? They're so cheap because people don't value them. And you gain, instead of having to go through 20 years of trial and error, you could pick up a book and instantly level up by 20 years. Humankind is in the only creation, the only organism on earth that has the ability to pass on messages hundreds and thousands of years into the future. We're reading texts from thousands of years ago, but here we are, you and I are waking up every day like, you know what? Today I'm going to try to do this all by myself. There's tons of books on the no other being, no other animal can pass messages or pass life experiences down. We have that unique ability where we can pass on lessons to our kids, to our grandkids, to the greater future. And historically, people have done that for us, but here we are. We have the audacity to say, I got this. I'm going to figure this out on my own. Come on, man. We could do better, right? So that's to me, when I think about it like that, I just felt so silly trying to do it all on my own. Like, pick up a book, dude. Go talk to somebody who's actually really good at that. Attend a webinar or something like that. And that was really when I started thinking about it that way, just exponential success.
So powerful. And this is coming, and again, everyone has different successes. Everyone has different, paths on their journey. But if I'm hearing you correctly here, it's find a pain point that you have, whether it's the library, the Barnes and Nobles, grab the text, the book version, not the hearsay of a podcast or a YouTube. Grab the book version first, read it, involve yourself in that, and start taking those clues and take action from it. And that's that who not how you mentioned,
No,
right?
oh, yeah.
That was a big part of your career. When it comes to, what other types of books do you consume in it, when you were trying to level yourself up? I mean, there's so many out there. I mean, I can go to the
Yeah,
Wall Street
yeah,
Journal's list, Barnes and Noble's list. Like, how do you is there a way you reverse engineer, like, whether it's looking at the table of contents, the first chapter, like, how do you know what path to flow when reading books? Because for those that don't like to read, that could be a hurdle in itself,
yeah.
right? And those that do like to read may like to read other types of books, not business books.
I'll tell you, I was proud of the fact that I hate reading. I would tell people I'm like Gary Vee. I heard Gary Vee say, I used to be embarrassed that I didn't like to read. I like all these, oh yeah, I read, 6 books a year, 12 books a year. Damn, I don't read. And then I heard Gary Vee say, I don't like to read. And I was like, yes, yes. So yeah, he's successful. I'm just like Gary Vee. So I was proud of that. And then one day I read a book that really was just really got me. I mean, I felt that I really needed to book, and it was actually this book right here, Buy Back Your Time. This really was a big pivoting point in our agency by Dan Martell, great guy. He's like all about SaaS, and he was just talking about his journey, about how he lost a relationship and how he really didn't know how to delegate. The biggest thing the biggest lie we tell ourselves is nobody can do it as good as I can, and in fact, that's not a lie. Turns out that's true. And what I learned is that it's true. Nobody can do it as good as you can. There are people who can do it better. You know why? Because that's what they love to do. And he says something in that book. Every time you do something that you don't love to do, sales, marketing, development, building something, you are robbing somebody else of an opportunity of doing what they love. Boom. Like somebody else out there loves to do what you hate. And because you keep doing it, you're robbing them of that opportunity. So with that, to answer your question, that's tough. I mean, and let me start by saying, you don't necessarily have to, if you're more of a video guy or podcast or audiobook, great. That was me. I was YouTube video, and slowly after reading this book, he referenced so many other books. I'm like, oh, I got to read that. I got to read that. I'm very big onto audiobooks. When I'm driving, I love to listen. I want to pull over and take notes. So Audible is a good one. But for me, how do you know which book? I would say start with a topic and look at the reviews, right? Just like Amazon, you see how many reviews, how many people, and that has really helped me choose books, because you're right, there's so many books out there, and the ones that have the most reviews and the highest ratings are the ones that I take are worth my time.
Yeah, and I appreciate you, sharing, these steps, right? Because these are the golden nuggets that get us to where we want to be. Is the knowledge, and what direction do we want to go, and how do we fuel it? The last one, it touches on time and money. For those agency owners, marketers, whether they're transitioning from a traditional marketing style to model to a SaaS model, or just getting into SaaS right away as the first model, when it comes to structure and organization and really knowing the business acumen,
Hmm.
how did you go about educating yourself on that? Because, when you share that you were in the corporate world and everything outside of business for yourself, how did you speed up that process of knowledge?
Yeah, I wish there was a secret formula. I'll tell you where it starts. Like I asked myself, how do I make more money? And I learned the hard way that that's the wrong question to ask. It's not a bad question. It's just a bad first question. The first question you should ask is, how do I add more value? And when I started thinking like that, things started to happen. So I asked myself, how do I add more value? Now that I've blown up my own event rental business, I started sharing that value for free into these different Facebook groups. And then people started offering to pay me. But when I was going to people, sliding in their DMs and messaging them, and hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Everybody ignored me. But when I started, that's where it's crazy. It's like when you stop trying to make money, you start making money. So that would be my biggest thing is, yes, we all want money. Yes, we all want better life, but it's all about adding value. If you can add more value than you charge, if you can just give value without even expecting anything in return, just be a good person. Just go out there and help other people. First of all, you're going to feel great, right? Because you've helped somebody else with their life, right? Don't do it with, oh, I have to get something in return. But you're gonna grow a fan base. You're gonna stop needing to market yourself. There was a point where we stopped marketing. We had to turn people away because people were sending one another when we first started. It was just such a new thing. So that's been a big thing for us. Like, you're absolutely right. I had no experience, right? And I never claimed to be a guru. I still don't claim to be a master of anything, right? I just love what I do. I love to help people through business. And High Level is a platform that allows me to do that, right? So I go into these Facebook groups. Somebody said the riches are in the niches. Stop trying to help everybody. Go into something very specific that you're excited about, right? What is it that you love? What lights you up? What gets you excited, right? Think about, like, what is it that you do when you have the most energy, when you're just like, you have so much passion in this one thing. Go into those Facebook groups and just give. Just give. And for me, again, this was all accidental. I was already in these communities taking value and giving value for years before I had anything to sell. So when it came time for me to say, hey, I did this new thing, it worked. Who wants to see how it works? Totally free. People flocked to me naturally because I was already part of that community. So if I had to give you one actionable step today, I would say do that. Join these communities that you're already have something in common with, that you're already passionate about, and just start giving. Just start commenting. Just start collaborating, and that's it. Don't do it with anything else in mind. And if something comes, it'll come. Everything ends up happening for a reason. But for me, that's what worked. I'm not telling you it's going to work for you. Our very first year, following what I just told you, with High Level, we made about $1 million. We made just under $1 million, actually, 960,000, I think. I mean, to go from making 50, 60K a year to making like 100K a month, I'll tell you, that's how I did it. There was no magic. I didn't have any special formula, nothing like that. I was just giving, and then people would just, I couldn't pay for enough. They were all coming on their own, sending one another. This guy helped me with my business, let him help you. And it just literally blew the lid off my life.
Yeah, and it sounds like because you put yourself in that open-minded knowledge path of learning, 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 you were then able to teach, teach, teach,
Yes.
give value, give value, give value. And it sounds like you just kind of wrap this up here, where your clients are now giving their family, friends, peers, others in other groups value, value, value. And
Yes.
they're
100%.
just organically referring, like, I learned this from Tariq, his company, his people. Check out this guy. He's got YouTube, and now it builds up. So just keep me honest here. You went from creating a bounce house business to then serving a bounce house industry. Is that right?
Yep.
And
Exactly.
that's all by education, streamlining processes, and just being a goodwill businessman helping other business people that want to excel.
To be fair, that's my passion. I love to teach, right? And that may not be for you. If you're watching this and you're like, Tariq, I'm introverted, I don't like to do all this. I mean, I've always been introvert. I'm not like out there, like you'll see me here. Like this is just kind of who I've had to become. But I naturally, I love to teach. I talk my wife's ear off. If I'm passionate, and I think most of us are like this. If you're passionate about something, you could talk about it for days. It feels unnatural when you're passionate about, about cars, and you're over here trying to come talk about marketing. You're out of place, right? But if you're passionate about something, you learn it very, very well, right? Learn it, then teach it. You owe that to your fellow man to teach them. If you genuinely find value, if you genuinely learned something in one of these books, post it. I mean, you are robbing other people of an opportunity to learn from you, right? Because you're not here, you're not fake. You're not here telling people what to do. You're just telling them what you did. You're telling them what you find inspiring. And the key for me, what I found, because there's so many people who've come, like once I started doing this, people who are much bigger than me, they tried to crush me, man. They were like, who are you? You're a nobody, right? The way I was able to stand up to giants, right? Literally giants, multi-billion-dollar people and really larger. The way I was able to stand up to them is consistency. Nobody. That people had much more money than me, much more knowledge, much bigger networks, but nobody was able to stay as consistent as I am. No matter how much hate I got, no matter how little engagement I got, post every single day, every single week, still put up a YouTube video. It doesn't matter how many likes or watches. I was consistent because I had that why. I knew why I was doing it. I did it because I loved it. I loved it. I genuinely, from my heart, I love to give value. It lights me up, right? So I continue to do it. And for them, they were doing it for the money. And when they didn't see the money, they quit. There's a story in one of these books about the Wright brothers. Believe it or not, the Wright brothers, they were not the first people to try to invent flight. There was another guy who had all these big businessmen behind him, had all the money, had all the press. The press was following him. The Wright brothers were in a little town. It was just them, right? The first time that he crashed or his plane didn't work, he quit. The Wright brothers, they went out like 1,000,000 times. And once they made it, he could have came back. The other guy, I forgot his name. Like, that's the crazy part. We don't even know his name. His name's not even in history. Once they made the newspaper that they invented flight, if he had the why, if he had the real reason why he was doing this, was his passion, he had the money. He could have said, okay, they invented flight. I'm going to invent the airplane. I'm going to invent something. I'm going to build off of what they did. But he didn't. He quit. He disappeared off of history because he was in bed, because he just didn't have that fire, right? And that's what you and I have. That's what we have. If you find that thing that lights you up, that just lights a fire under you, that's what you go. Nobody can tell you you're wrong for sharing your passion with the world. And if you do it consistently, and that's where who, not how comes in. You can't be the sales guy, the marketing guy, the product. You can't be all those things and still be consistent. It's in this, I find, marketing is oversaturated. Every day you and I are getting emails. Hey, I can help you with marketing. I could do this. I could do that. How you stand out is by being a real person, and not, you have to stay consistent with your messaging. And once you have the right team, once you know how to work with the right people, you do that. And the easiest way to do that is just talk about what you love.
So powerful, so powerful. And it leads us right into that next topic. All the knowledge, excitement, passion, fuel that you build up based on investing in yourself. How do you now transfer that, the knowledge and the goals to your employees?
Mm,
How do you
yeah,
get that to your employees now? Like,
you learn.
let's say you're bringing on one or two contractors. Let's say you have 15 employees or contractors. No matter what stage you're in, it's someone outside of you that needs to be guided, motivated, and put them on the path to where you want the business to go. Where do you start?
And that's exactly what separates the boys from the men. This, a lot of
Mm,
people, and this is it's in any family or in any business, everything is here. And you look around like, damn, nobody can do it like I can do. Why doesn't anybody get it? That's a loser mentality. You have to get out of it. It's on you. You're failing to communicate your vision to other people. And you ask me a question, how do you do that? You learn, you Google it. How do I build a winning team? And when I did that, I came across these books and I found the book Traction was actually, it's super complex. It's a classic, but it talks about the importance of vision and core values. And for me, that stuff I always blew off. Like, that's not important, right? That's what the heck, I blew that off for years and I got pretty far in life. But when I needed to clone myself, when I needed to build my army and get my team to feel fulfilled and motivated, I realized the value of a vision and how it hurt us. I actually built a team that I thought was winning, but then they all, they actually helped almost sank our ship because we didn't have a clear vision. We didn't have the core values. So for me, I'll get the quick answer. You need a clear vision, very compelling vision that is shared by everybody on your team. You need core values. You need to hire, fire, and reward people on your team based on your core values. And I struggled with core values for a long, long time because I just didn't get it. I was like, these are just words, right? But for me, core values is what makes me me, right? What I love about myself, what you love about your brother, about your cousin. There's things that you hate and you love about, man, I can't stand people who do that. Your pet peeves, take the opposite, and that's your core value. The things that you really like, that you admire, man, I admire how that guy always shows up, right? He's committed. That's a core value that's important to you. And it's hard because you're going to come up with like 20 different core values, but you want to keep it to like 5. And that's where I took me like a year to figure out my top 5. Now we actually only have 4, but it's so easy to remember. We hire people who have these values. We've met some incredibly knowledgeable and smart people, but we didn't bring them on our team because they were not the right person for the team, right? So vision, core values, and then how you track results, KPIs. These are all things that are really advanced. But
mhm.
once you get to that level, once you get a team without clarity, you're just gonna ruin it for yourself, and you're gonna ruin a relationship that could have been something really beautiful with somebody else because it was you, though. It wasn't them. Either you brought on the wrong person or you brought on the right person, and because of your lack of clarity, they now became the wrong person, and you're gonna lose somebody awesome.
So, with the core values, it resonates very well for me, and for our audience that's not familiar with core values and that process. You've mentioned the book Traction also helped you
Yes,
create that foundation. Is that correct?
100%.
Yeah. So Traction by Gino Wickman. Get that book, embrace it, right? And you said it can be a little complicated.
A
So
little complicated.
jump in the chapters.
So I picked up Traction maybe 3 times, was never able to finish it. Buy Back Your Time. I highly recommend it. It's kind of like a condensed version of a lot of other books. That book, I got to give props to Dan Martell. That got me back into reading. It's a short read and it mentions a lot of things from Traction. It kind of sums them up. And I was like, you know what, man, this is great. Now I need to read Traction because even he mentioned it. So that's if you're having a hard time reading Traction, Buy Back Your Time could be a good one to start with.
Absolutely perfect. So we get into everything from a business foundation, from an owner operator mindset, and now we bring on staff, or we have staff that we now need to enable. How do we take all of that knowledge and all of those best practices and energy to enable our employees to serve our clients?
The biggest mistake small business owners make, and I consider agencies small business owners, because we don't have those C-level executives to teach us these things that they learn in business school. And by the way, I don't necessarily believe that you have to go to business school to be successful, but there are some things that you learn in business school that we just miss, right? Small business owners, we have an idea we go with. The biggest mistake is not getting those core things right: the vision, the core values, the KPIs. Most business owners do not have a scorecard. Imagine you're playing basketball, right? Or football. And there's no score. And you're playing against this team and you're just playing and it's been 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Nobody's keeping score. How long are you going to be engaged for? Right? Eventually they're going to be like, all right, like, when are we done? It's not clear where we're going, how we get there. Nothing's clear. Put up the scoreboard and you see that you're down by 1 point. Something magic happens, right? People start pushing harder because it's clear exactly how we're doing. And that's what you need in your business. You need a scoreboard, and that's what KPIs are. A KPI is basically a number. It has to be a number, right? How am I doing? How is, Joe is working for you. How's Joe? Oh, Joe's good. You got to put a number on it, right? Why is Joe good? What KPIs determine how well Joe is doing? And once we did that, we lost a bunch of people on our team because they just were not down with that. They were like, oh, now you're going to give me a number and blah, blah, blah. They were the wrong person, right? And we learned that because we didn't start with those things. So how do you transfer that over? Everything that's important in your business needs to be measured. And the book Traction talks about you need about 15 core KPIs. And one of those for us is NPS score, right? Net Promoter Score. After every interaction with a customer, it sends them like an email, or every ticket that we close, send them an email that says, hey, how likely are you to recommend us to your friends and neighbors, or to your friends and family? And it'll go up, it'll go down. That kind of tells us how we're doing. Ticket close time, that's a KPI that we have. How many Google reviews we have, customer satisfaction, team satisfaction, all these things. Once you put a number on it, like it's like they say, what gets measured gets improved, and what doesn't. So how do you go ahead and transfer those things? You can't just start there. You have to start with your vision. Once you have a vision, you bring on people who share your core values and share that vision. Then you create a knowledge base, SOPs, playbooks, whatever you want to call them, for your people, and you document it. And this is another thing that we hate doing. We like to tell you, to text you, to Slack you. You have to have a clear document. Here is how we set up a new account. Here is how we do this. Here's how we do that. Once you've given somebody a vision, core values, an SOP, and they haven't followed it, then it's clear that you are not the problem. But don't ever blame somebody else for something wrong in your business until you have all those things, because you have not provided clarity. So to answer your question, I know I kind of went round and round, but you document your process. You put a number on it so that the team member can know, believe it or not. So the people who are accountable like goals, right? And that's where I had some team members. Once we put up the scoreboard, they were like, and that was a big red flag. Like, you're not an accountable person. That's what that tells me. Other people on the team who, believe it or not, before that, we brushed them off as, oh, they're probably not going to last with the company. They're very introverted. Once the scoreboard went up, once we started using KPIs, they shot to the top. They were very accountable people. And it turns out we were losing sight of them because they didn't have clarity, and they're very motivated people by goals. And those people have now moved up into our leadership team just by putting up a scoreboard. We've brought the best out of people. So all this to say, the scoreboard, those KPIs are going to let the team member actively know how they're doing, right? Here's how I'm doing. I've talked to 10 customers. I've done 10 setups, or I'm marketing on Google ads or Facebook ads, the ROAS, whatever it is. This is very clear. And you set a benchmark. If the ROAS goes below 5, then you're doing a bad job. If it goes above 7, then you're doing excellent. And then they will start to critique themselves. And that's when some really cool things happen. They'll go out of their way to start watching videos and reading books. Oh, I need my job. How do I increase my ROAS? How do I increase my NPS? Because you've made it crystal clear. And man, you end up having a company full of leaders who are building themselves up to push your company forward. And all you did was put up a scoreboard, have a clear vision, have core values.
Basic to some, totally new concept to others.
Yep.
There's so much space in between that if you're not doing something like this, then you're leaving money on the table, and you're losing good people, whether
Yes.
you're not hiring them because of that process not in place, or they're leaving because of that process not in place. because like you had mentioned, those that are accountable, they want KPIs to compete, but also to have a roadmap of where we need to be going based on that input output, man. Thank you for that. That is so powerful because, when our customers get into business using high level or using high level as their business model, we don't give them a course on how to be a business owner, and not even business school does that all the time. And people that go for their, different degree levels, I mean, there's no like one way to do it.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate you sharing it because you've been living it and doing it in an industry that maybe people wouldn't expect it to be done in, right? Just, we're just renting out bouncy houses, or we're just, doing, paint jobs, or we're just doing, plumbing work. It's a hands job. It's not really a technical or software type of job, but this could work in
all
career
industry.
paths.
I'll tell you real quick when it really resonated with me, why this was important. My father owns a very successful trucking company. And at a young age, I started working with him. And very quickly, I realized I want nothing to do with this company and at the time, I just felt like working with families tough. But once I started to do these things, I realized it's because my father is one of the hardest working people I'll meet, but he did not learn any of these things. He doesn't have values. He doesn't have core values. He doesn't have a vision. He doesn't have processes. He doesn't have KPIs. So unfortunately for him, like the reason you and I do this is we want to build a legacy. We want to build something for our kids. How sad is it when you do all that and your kids don't even want anything to do with it because you've just made it so complex and it's all in here. You never put it out there. And that, if nothing else, that should motivate you, that the people you're doing this for aren't even going to want it because it's such a mess.
Wow. Going deep, and it's amazing because this is what we need. I mean, you feel it. I feel it in the story, and I know our audience feels it too. It's wow, like I get it. It's starting to click. So, we get in, you've shared so much around balance of time versus money, aligning your goals for your employees and your clients. Let's bring it to now the me portion. If you're the entrepreneur, the business owner, belief, family, and support, how do those fall into place after you've built that foundation that you've shared?
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember why you're doing this. You have to have a why. You have to know what you want. And let me tell you, money again, it's a good goal, but it shouldn't be your first goal. It shouldn't be the first question because it'll show, and that's not really what you want because there's tons of rich people out there that are unhappy. You have to be very clear. And some days I still want, like, what do I want, right? But I know that I love being a husband. I love being a father. That's the most important thing for me. My faith, my community, I enjoy doing this, but you can't, like I said, like I have two kids. I look at their baby pictures sometimes that come up I'm like, I don't remember when you were that age. It's because I worked 20 jobs, right? Trying to do this. What was it all for, right? No regrets, but why make the same mistakes Tariq made and John made if you can just learn from them and surpass them? I want you to surpass me, right? So, to answer your question, it is the most important thing, right? Family, belief, that's whatever it is that's important for you. Remember why you're doing this because nobody on their deathbed says, I wish I made more money, right? It's always something else. So what is that thing? Somebody said, what do you want people to say on your funeral, right? At your funeral, what do you want people to say? What do you want people to remember you as? What's important to you? What gets you excited, right? Those are the things you want to focus on. And then you build the money and the processes and the business in between. The story of the rocks and the pebbles, that's also mentioned kind of in traction. We have these big things in our lives and we always say, I never have time. I never have time. I never have time. Right. And they said, if you take a cup, right, if you have like a container or cup and you have a bunch of big rocks and a bunch of small pebbles, if you put all the pebbles in there, then you try to fit the big rock in there, it's not going to fit. But if you put the big rock first and then you put the pebbles, everything fits. You do have time. You just have to prioritize those things that are bigger first. What are those big rocks for you? Your family, your faith, your community, whatever it is, start with those and then build everything else around them. Otherwise, you're going to look back, kids are going to be grown. What are they going to remember you by, right? My dad never had time for me. My dad was never there for me when I needed this or that. Screw that. You don't want that.
Amen. Amen. You know, I'm very grateful that you're an open book. I mean, you read tons of them, right? And you've shared some great nuggets, but you are an open book. This is totally unfiltered. We didn't organize any of these questions. This was just, at that moment, we keep moving forward. I want to touch on something that is is relevant to SaaS and running a SaaS business. Was there a time in your journey where you started to gain all this knowledge, all the best practices, and you still failed at the ramp up of actually executing the software as a service model, like the technical, the customer service, the building the actual transaction of the business? Yeah, all this knowledge, and now it's like, oh, now this is a problem.
Yeah.
How did
Uh,
you handle that experience?
I think we fail in that aspect every day. Every day we have an amazing team. So I have a unlike I actually invested. I believe in what I'm doing so much that I said it is not fair to me in my vision for me to be the developer in my own company. I'm not a developer. I don't know how to code. So I hired a developer and then another one and then a third one. Like we have three developers and they're awesome. And we still fail, but one of them actually just got her high level admin certificate. Like she took the whole course in the exam, and she's got she's very like they're far surpassing me. But yes, you will fail, and learning, is what it all comes down to, right? Like there are. Here's the thing: SaaS is kind of new, but not really, right? There have been SaaS companies that have been around for a long time, and because it's such a unique industry, you will find very you'll find very detailed strategies out there. Like if you are you want to learn about something broad, like I don't know how to build a house, like there's a million ways to do it, right? But for SaaS, what I found is the books that are out there and the videos and all this stuff, because it's kind of like a newer, smaller thing, it's very, very detailed. And it's been very, very helpful to me, even when it's coming from people who are farther along than I am. But that's where it really helps to have mentors, right? I have people in my Facebook Messenger inbox that I could just message. I'll just hit up like, hey man, I'm having this problem. I'm trying to make this higher, or I've kind of run into this wall, or these numbers don't make sense. What do you think? And they'll bounce ideas off of me. So I think that's where, as great as books and videos are, along the way, once you enter these communities, you will meet people who you'll resonate with, who you'll have kind of similar values. I've even gone to SaaS conventions, right? Even outside of high level. I've done, SaaS Academy does a bunch of them, and we'll go and you learn so much from other people, and you teach. That's when you realize, man, I have so much more to teach than I knew. Where they're like, man, you're so good at marketing, Tariq. I'm like, yeah, but what good is marketing if I can't even, build up this process? And they're like, oh, well, that's easy. I know how to do that. And we just talk. So networking is where it really helps. And it's just good for your sanity, for your mental health, to talk to other people at that level.
And thank you for sharing that. It sounds like it's an ongoing evolution, right? You may have it set straight where you need it to be for the first 72 hours of the week, and then everything goes down the drain midweek, and you got to build it back up. So mentorship and relationships and just keeping your core values at the top of your mind with knowledge and heart, right? Just really sticking to your belief, your support, your family, your why. Um, Thank you for this magical um, jolt of energy, because we have folks that are at a little bit below your level, at your level, and above your level, and they all have similar, if not the same, type of hurdles that everyone has. And it's sometimes better when you hear from someone else.
Yeah.
When you hear it from someone else outside of your closest friend or your business partner, the aha moment comes in. For someone that maybe has jumped in the middle of this episode and didn't get all the beginning part, but they loved what they've heard from this point on, how do you go about giving them a tip or a jolt of belief that if you've been thinking about giving up, or this is not for you, following that gut feeling is not the right thing? How do you bring that gut part together? Because that hit me home, because I follow my gut all the time and it doesn't serve me well every moment.
Doesn't know. You know, I think about there's some very important jobs in life, doctors, lawyers. Think about how much time they have to go to school to learn, how much learning, how many books they read. But then there are some really important jobs that require zero learning, and they're more important than being a lawyer or a doctor or the president, right? Being a husband or a wife, being a father, being a business owner. You got to understand, when you're a business owner, you're not just in it for yourself. You serve the community. My bounce house business, my SaaS was doing so well. I told my wife, you know what, let's just sell the bounce house business. Why work locally when you could work from home? So we put it up for sale. The community was devastated. They're like, you guys are selling? What? I did. That's when I realized, like, people actually, like, you're more than you think you are. People actually look to you. When you are in business, you are a beacon of a community, right? It's kind of like you're like a father to the community. And that's a job that is just crazy when you think about it. You could just pick up and grab that job. But to be a doctor or a lawyer, you have to go to tons of school and all that. But I think everyone will agree that being a father is more important than being a doctor, right? Or being a parent. So how come there's zero learning required? I'll never forget when they handed me my daughter, they said, all right, you can take her home. I'm like, are you crazy? I don't, what? Honestly, this is a living thing. She's so fragile. You're just going to give her to me? Like, I was like, wow, how are they just trusting me with this living human being, right? With zero schooling. And then you wonder why there's so much divorce and so many, you know, the suicide rates, and so many kids grow up with issues because, and this is to answer your question. I'm going around and around. To answer your question, how dare you? How dare you trust your gut? How dare you, dude? Like, this is something, it's such a big responsibility. And if it was anything else, you would have read a manual to freaking install a fridge, but you're not going to read a manual to serve a community, to be a father, to be a husband. No wonder the failure rate is so high, right? And I'm speaking for myself first. Trust me, I'm no better. you know, I've been there, right? You know, my daughter's almost a teenager now, so let me tell you, we have our moments almost pretty much every day. But that's where I always have to remind myself, Tariq, none of these books matter if you can't learn how to be a father to this little girl, or a husband to your wife when she needs you most, right? When she needs somebody to listen to, and you're just making it about you. So that's where knowing your why, what is it that you want out of life? What's most important? Those are the things that you learn first, and everything else falls around it. So to answer your question, why you shouldn't trust your gut? How dare you? Honestly, like, what gives you the confidence? You've never done this before, right? You have zero experience doing something. That's like if somebody came up to you and you needed heart surgery, and you know your buddy's like, you know, I think I could do it, right? Would you let him because he trusted his gut? No, right? You want somebody who's got experience, and that's exactly what you're doing. You're trying to perform heart surgery with no experience with a lot of the things that we do. So I don't trust my gut anymore, and that served me very well personally.
Yeah, clearly. And you speak it with so much confidence, so much conviction, because you've done it over and over and over. And our audience is appreciative. I'm very appreciative. All of us here at High Level appreciate you really pouring out you know, parts of your success. We understand that results may vary, but these best practices, these nuggets, are designed to put on top of what you're doing now, or helping you adjust what you may not be doing yet. Tariq Elkhatib, founder of Event Hawk. You've been very generous with your time, two-time award winner, gold and platinum, and I appreciate you sharing with our audience what's contributed to that. If you are new to the Spotlight sessions or not yet a high-level user, below there'll be links to a 30-day free trial. In addition, there will be a link to Tariq's website page that is going to give some additional information on how you can grab some of these nuggets he shared and apply them to your business. So take a look below, explore, discover, and take action. Tariq, thank you again for hanging out with us and being a high-level user.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you guys.
Till next time.